I have always been a heavy sleeper. After a long day at work, I crashed into my bed, exhausted. I barely remembered pulling the blanket over myself before darkness took me. But when I woke up the next morning, something was terribly wrong. I wasn't in my bed. I was lying on the cold, damp pavement by the side of a deserted road. My heart pounded as I sat up, my clothes soaked with morning dew. Cars whizzed past in the distance, but there was no sign of how I got there. My phone was still in my pocket, the battery at 5%. I checked the time, 6:42 a.m. Panic crept into my chest. My house was miles away. How had I ended up here? I scrambled to my feet, trying to recall anything from the night before. Had I sleepwalked, been kidnapped, drugged? But my body felt fine. No bruises, no signs of a struggle. Then, something else hit me. The road. It looked eerily familiar. And then I knew why. It was the same road where my best friend Kevin had died 5 years ago. A chill ran down my spine. I hadn't been here since the accident, the night Kevin had skipped off the road and crashed into a tree. I had been in the passenger seat that night. I had survived. Kevin had not. Kevin and I had been inseparable since childhood. We met in second grade when he stood up for me after a group of kids pushed me off the swings. I still remember how he marched up to them, fearless, and said, "Pick on someone your own size." He was smaller than me, but his confidence scared them off. From that day on, we were best friends. We did everything together, rode our bikes through the neighborhood until sunset, built forts in the woods, played video games all night. As we got older, nothing changed. High school, college, we stuck together. He was more than my best friend. He was my brother. But one night, everything changed. We had gone to a party, and Kevin had been drinking. I told him we should call an Uber, but he laughed it off. "I'm fine, man," he had said. "It's just a short drive." I should have stopped him. I should have grabbed the keys from his hand, but I didn't. I got in the passenger seat. 15 minutes later, Kevin lost control of the car. I remember the headlights of an oncoming truck, the violent spin, the sound of metal crunching as the car slammed into the tree, the world going dark. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. Kevin never woke up at all. The guilt never left me. It ate away at me, haunted me. If I had insisted, if I had done something different, maybe Kevin would still be alive. And now, standing on this road 5 years later, I felt like the past had come back to claim me. I took a shaky breath and started walking toward the nearest gas station. The morning air felt unusually thick, almost heavy, as if something unseen was pressing down on me. Every step felt slower than the last. Then I saw it. A man was standing by the tree where Kevin had crashed. My breath hitched. The man's back was turned, his posture stiff. He was wearing a black hoodie, the same one Kevin had been wearing the night he died. I swallowed hard. "Kevin?" The figure didn't move. My pulse pounded. "Kevin, is that you?" Slowly, the figure turned. The face was blurred, shifting like static on an old TV. But there was one thing I could make out clearly: the eyes, sunken, hollow, filled with something dark and bottomless. I stumbled back. The air around me grew colder. The figure took a step forward. "Why did you leave me?" A voice whispered, but it didn't come from the figure. It came from everywhere, from the wind, from the trees, from inside my head. My breathing quickened. I didn't leave you, Kevin. It wasn't my fault." The whisper turned into a low, guttural growl. The ground beneath me seemed to shift, pulling me closer to the tree. I fought against it, but my feet wouldn't move. "You should have died too." Something grabbed my wrist, ice-cold fingers, thin and bony. I screamed, my vision blurred, the world spun, the grip tightened. I felt myself being yanked downward, like something was dragging me beneath the earth itself. Then, beep, beep. A loud honk shattered the moment. I gasped as I snapped awake. This time, for real. I was back in my bed. Panting, I shot up, drenched in sweat. My heart hammered like a drum. My room was the same. My phone was on the nightstand, fully charged. The time read 6:42 a.m., the exact time I had woken up on the roadside. Shaking, I reached for my wrist. A dark bruise was there in the shape of a handprint. My stomach twisted. I knew Kevin was mad at me. not just because of the accident, but because I had never once visited his grave since the day he was buried. I had avoided it, convinced that facing it would make the guilt unbearable, but Kevin had given me no choice now. The next morning, I skipped work and drove straight to the cemetery. My hands trembled as I stood before his grave, staring at the name carved into the stone. I took a deep breath. "I'm sorry, Kevin," I whispered, "for everything." The wind blew softly, rustling the leaves, and for the first time in 5 years, I felt a strange sense of peace. As I turned to leave, I swore I heard a voice, faint and distant. "It's about time, man." I didn't look back. Did this story send chills down your spine? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video to support more content, subscribe to the channel for more bone-chilling stories. Share this story with your friends who love a good scare. Comment below and answer this. If you were in my situation, waking up on the road with no memory of how you got there, what would be the first thing you do? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced something eerie or unexplainable? Let us know in the comments. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. Thank you so much for watching.